Last week we briefly mentioned about censoring Roald Dahl books because the words things like fat and ugly are words that children shouldn't hear, although some of them should, because it would stop them. For example, if you called a child fat, it might stop them being fat. That was
fat shaming's good. Fat shaming's good.
That was the whole premise of what was the Central Intelligence, wasn't it, with The Rock and Kevin Hart, and the Rock was getting picked on at school because he was fat, so he did one thing to change his life, and that one thing was to go to the gym every day for 6 hours for 20 years.
There you go.
So it works.
I was at the pub on Friday and we was all talking about it, and we said we need to bring back bullying.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly helps keep kids out. I had a terrible problem.
Everyone's been bullied and everyone's bullied. So,
I was going to say, I had a terrible problem with bullying at my school. Most of the kids just didn't have any money. Anyway, so book censoring. Matt,
wait. Jesus Christ. Can I get a word in edgewise here? Phil, you gotta step back once in a while. Jesus, I know you're the host, but give your guests a chance to shine. I'm going to take fat shaming seriously, as I'm ashamed of my fat, and so I have actually joined a gym. I haven't got my little. It's one of those 24/7 ones, so you got to get a key fob, and they don't have like anybody at the desk. But it's nice. It's right here in town, and I'm going to go do it. And I'm putting it out here so that you, the viewer, will stay on me and shame me if I don't give weekly updates and talk about it and make sure that I am staying on track. Because if I keep it quiet, then I'll have an excuse to screw it up, not go, right? So
okay.
I'm
that's fair enough.
Making it tough on myself.
Good for you,
man. I've started since Christmas. I've started going. I'm doing that 0 to 5K running, and I've not been drinking beer in the week, and I've been changing my diet. I've actually lost 8 pounds since Christmas.
Oh, see, you guys have got it wrong. I'm on an ignorance diet, so I just don't care.
I was waiting for the old seafood joke. I was waiting for that.
It's like if you're on an ignorance diet, does that mean you're filling up on education? Because you're keeping out the ignorance.
Yeah, my brain's going to get bigger. That's what it is. Anyway,
I look forward to seeing that.
Anyway, shut up, fatty. Let's get back to book censoring.
Go for it there, Pip.
I mean, to be fair, I could stand to lose a few pounds myself. But a gym, I don't know. If God wanted me to go to a gym, he'd have put it closer to my house. Right, book censoring. Matt, you wrote the article, but basically James Bond, one of the previous James Bond books is going to be censored, isn't it?
They're censoring a lot of them, mate. Not just
oh, right, okay.
One or
Sorry.
two. No, it's hot on the heels of the Roald Dahl book censorship, which they've actually backtracked now, and they're actually going to release the censorship version and the normal version for those people that are not scared of hurty words. But yeah,
this is the censored one. There's nothing in here.
yeah. Shut up, fat boy. And again, they're trying it with James Bond. They're going to edit certain words, the N word, and there's one particular instance where in Live and Let Die, he refers to the crowd of like I can't remember the exact words, like hot feral animals beating on the desks at the strippers and that, and it's now changed to like, oh, the enthusiastic crowd. So it's
I think ridiculous. I think we need to stop using the word censorship. At least, it's if I understand the word censorship, if you you get something that's redacted, so it has all the black lines on it, that would be a censorship. Or if they say we are not going to show this show, or we are going to remove certain parts, and we're letting you know this has been censored because of language, sexual content, things like that. That's censorship. Something comes from the government, says you're not allowed to read this, it's banned, that's censorship. The difference is that you know that there is something there, you just can't access it. I'm not saying that isn't wrong. It is, for the most part. Obviously you don't want to broadcast troop movements. I'm okay with them censoring things like that. But for the most part, a censorship is something is there, it's being censored. What they're doing to these books is outright fraud. It's outright vandalism and fraud because
cultural vandalism.
Yeah, because you don't know. Kids reading this, they don't know that there's anything different because they don't know what it was before.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hidden, it's deceitful, it's lying, and it needs to be called out as harsher than censorship. It is vandalism is a good word. Fraud. I mean, these are lying fraudsters who are pretending that this is what it's theft. It's you're stealing Fleming's work by changing it to be the way you want it to be, and then pretending that that's what he wrote. How is that not theft?
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're making money off of that. So, I mean, censorship is just not enough anymore. To talk about censorship just feels like a kind of a stale government, dry sort of, this is what they did. We all don't like censorship, and there is a little bit of a harshness to it, but it's not enough anymore.
No, it's exactly right in what you're saying. That, like I say, that it's completely going against, like I say, censorship. Yes, there are certain things that need to be censored. I know they say about freedom of speech, but you can't go around, threatening murder on people and stuff like that. That is, it's wrong. But when you are taking somebody's work and then just changing it for the better, they might as well go to the Mona Lisa and paint over the top of it where she's got fake tits and old taking a selfie of herself. You might as well do the same thing, because that's updating it for modern audiences.
Well, we've been on this slippery slope for several years now, haven't we? I don't know about you, Yoda, but over here we've had a few street names that have been changed here in London. Now we're heading book censorship. Obviously, we got not allowed to say certain words on social media that we all know about. So we're on a slippery slope, and our book, and then obviously it's tearing down the statues on both sides of the Atlantic. So we're on a very slippery slope right now, and it's just the irony that a book called 1984 predicted all this.
Or Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah. That's the whole Roald Dahl thing. That's what immediately I thought of, is that you're going to have people with books in their heads and sort of saying, I'm going to read you the original version of this story because obviously it's no longer public. We can't publish it or size it anymore because of how dangerous and horrible it is. That it's gonna cause mass panic in the streets because it uses the word fat.
Well, do you know what it's done as well? Is that I've got a DVD rack here, and it's full of Blu-rays. There's probably 200, maybe 300 Blu-rays on there. And I was thinking, it's just taking up space. I don't watch most of them because they're all accessible via Netflix or Amazon or Sky or whatever. At the moment, I'm thinking I might get rid of them down. There's a shop in England, Yoda, called CEX. And you take them in there and they go, right, we'll give you 50 quid for these, or you can have £75 in-store credit, blah, blah, blah. So I priced it all up and it comes to about 75 quid for the whole lot. And I'm like, well, I don't really need 75 quid. I might just keep them. And then with this continuing censorship that we're getting, or not censorship, but restricting of the original content, I'm thinking I might just keep them now for the sake of 75 quid that I don't need anyway. I might just box them all up, chuck them in the loft. And keep them, because we don't know what's going to happen over the next 10 years. The path we're on, things can be so edited so badly that you're not going to have the original content. So I might just keep them.
People need to understand that when the Nazis did book burnings back in the 40s, it wasn't that a bunch of uniformed jackboots came in, took the books from the frightened civilians and burned them all in the fire. They got the civilians to do it happily. Yeah. They got them to do it willingly. What you're witnessing right now is a digital book burning.
Yep. And you get the usual suspects on Twitter that bleating on and whining. Well, if you've got the original ones, why are you moaning about the new ones? Typical. You are missing the point.
Yeah.
What's the next generation going to do? These books aren't going to last forever.
No, exactly that.
But also,
Mr. Men will be next.
Didn't they say about that a little while back? About the Mr. Man, I can't remember. But with it also, you could look at this from the other viewpoint of was this a brilliant marketing scam by Penguin Books to make people think, oh no, these books are going to be censored. I'm going to go and buy them in case they ever get censored, because and just to be the
we talked
pessimist
about that.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that this is just corporate To me, that's almost as bad. In some ways, it's just corporations getting people to flake out, because there's people that support the censorship, and there's people against it. So we get all fighting each other, and they get all the publicity and book sales and just laugh at us. And I think there is some merit to that argument.
Yeah, and Yoda, I don't know about you, Phil, but Yoda's frozen on mine. I can hear his voice, but his picture's not moving. Wave your hand,
it
Yoda.
is frozen. No, it's frozen on me too. I'll fix it.
So it's, again, liberals are too ignorant to realise where this is going. You sometimes. I feel perhaps we should dress up as a drag queen and take all the liberals to the local library and read 1984 to them. Perhaps they'll pay attention to it then.
The problem is, I mean, in certain places of 1984, that it's in certain areas of 1984, it's quite subtle. I just don't think they'd get it.
No. But I mean, we literally witnessed it. We've had the statues being torn down over here and in America. Mate. We've got street names being renamed. I mean, there's a street in London, called I think it's called Little Black Boy Lane or something. I can't remember.
I remember, yeah. I've read the story.
Something else. It's like, my God, what is going on here?
There are so many jokes I want to make about that, but I know we won't get away with them.
I love that the citizens are like vandalizing the new name and spray painting over the old name. They're not taking it. We need more of that. Need more of that kind of stuff. Just everybody saying no. No, we refuse to go by your weird religion.
I don't understand who they're kind of appealing to with this. Like I say again, it's this very small crowd on Twitter of people
the noisy minority always.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of like the people that live there are just kind of like, so it's called Little Black Lane or whatever. I don't care. I've lived here all my life. I'm really not interested.
The sad thing is, people are probably protesting, and probably people that live down in the country have just seen it on Google street names and have never been there in their entire life. It's ridiculous, but
I was thinking the other day that the problem is it's like with kind of any kind of these things that go on. You've got activists, and this is the problem, that you've got these activists. It's not the fact of I'm talking about trans people. This is why this conversation came up. I've got a friend who I work with who's got a stutter. Lovely guy, but he's got a stutter. But he hates having attention called to it. So whenever I chat to him, I always just try to talk to him as normally as I possibly can. He's got his stutter, but I just leave it. An activist would go, look at this poor man with a stutter. Look at this poor man. Look at this poor man's stutter, everybody. This poor man's got a stutter. We should treat him differently. And it's like, that's exactly what he doesn't want. He just wants to have a normal conversation.
It doesn't matter what he wants, Phil. It's what makes me feel good.
Exactly. Yes. And this is the problem. These activists, they've got these people that have obviously got nothing going on in their lives. And so they have to bring up all these, look at this person, look at that person. It's like, no, that person, like with trans people, they just want to live their lives. They don't want to be called attention to. And anybody,
don't know, do they?
No, and the thing is then you get the people on TikTok going, look at me, I'm trans, and it's like, yeah, but you're not, are you? Because you're just jumping on a bandwagon. It's, I think somebody made a comment on Twitter the other day that trans is the new anorexia. A few years ago, like everybody was anorexic, weren't they? I'm really anorexic, and I'm really anorexic. Now it's like everybody's trans, and it's like, what's the next thing? Let's hope the next thing's like suicide or something.
They both go hand in hand anyway. So,
do you guys read Stone Toss? Do you ever read that comic? It's on the web. It's great. But they said we got this new house in Harry Potter, and it's the trans house. They have like the colors of the scarf is the trans house. Right. He's like, look, Severus, they can cast spells just like all the other students. See, that one's casting levitation, and he can't see above his shoulders, but he's clearly hung himself.
Yes, I do read that. I never knew it was called that. Was it called Stone Toss?
Stone Toss. Very funny.
I'm
so glad we could talk so much about movies on this movie channel.
Well, this is ultimately about James Bond being censored. Is obviously the thing that we're talking about, because, like I say, because again, it's work which was written at a certain time, and like James Bond himself was a philanderer and a whatever else you want to call him and whatnot. But yeah, again, this is going to be updated now. What?
Awesome. That's what you would call him. Awesome.
Oh, right. But yeah, again, he's a strong alpha male, but he was written for that time, coming out of the war and all this kind of stuff. And, they needed a hero and stuff. But yeah, he's got to be updated now. And in the last one, he's got a kid now, hasn't he? Didn't he have a kid?
Yeah.
In the last one?
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of like, because he's not just sleeping around anymore. Now he's got to have kids and, show that he's a nice...
They made him a black guy because he had a kid and then he killed himself to not have to father it.
Went out for some Newports about 20 years ago.
That's still one of my favourite scenes from Family Guy at the end of Indiana Jones, when him and Marion are tied to the pole and they open the ark and all these demons come out, and Indy's going, "Marion, whatever you do, don't open your eyes. Oh, by the way, Indy, I'm pregnant. Well, maybe open one eye."
Thank you for watching this excerpt from Outpost Frequencies. Tune in live every Sunday at noon Central Time or 6 o'clock UK time. And also, remember to come to lastmovieoutpost.com for all your latest in movie news, streaming news, and everything cool about film. We are the cool news now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next stream.